Hi, my name's Phil. I like to talk about politics, and in this video I'd like to discuss the latest from Reform UK's admission that their election campaign promises were completely bogus. Although they insist it's because they were ignorant rather than deliberately dishonest. Still, it does mean that if they make the same promises at the next round of elections next spring, that will be dishonesty. But first, for daily news and politics, please click the subscribe button to stay notified. So at this year's local elections, where Reform UK did very well and took over quite a few councils, they ran a campaign of cutting waste and not raising council tax. The reality is, however, somewhat different. There's been some reporting from Reform UK controlled Kent County Council, where senior Reform UK councillors have been saying things like this. We're already down to the bare bones. We've got more demand than ever before and it's growing. We just want more money. But they promised to cut waste. They didn't say they wanted more taxpayer money, quite the reverse. We'll cut waste and fix your councils. That's what they specifically promised. That was what was on their campaign leaflets. Another senior Reform councillor said this. Everyone thought we'd come in and there were just going to be these huge costs we could just cut away, but there just aren't. So let's consider this statement from, I remind you, a senior member of Reform UK in local government. This is a cabinet member of Reform UK's Kent County Council, because there are a few things to point out here. First, they are admitting that their election promises are in the bin already. No ambiguity there. They promised to cut waste. Are they going to cut waste? No, they now insist there is no waste to cut. They said they wouldn't raise council tax. They're now saying they want more taxpayer money. They are going to raise council tax, but they want even more taxpayer money than that. They want central government to provide them more money, which will of course mean central government levying more taxes. The fact that local council funding is far too squeezed is no defence for them. It is for others. It's something you can absolutely have sympathy for other political parties, Labour, Conservative, Lib Dem, Green, whoever, managing impossible demands, but not Reform UK. And the reason is they insisted that councils were awash with waste. Others don't. They did. They said that. And now they're saying they lied. Although not lied as such, because lying would imply deliberate, they were just wrong, which is the second thing to point out. See, I am prepared to believe that a lot of these councillors genuinely thought there was loads of waste to cut. But why did they believe that? They didn't research it, did they? They didn't identify this waste they were going to cut before they ran the election. So why? What made them believe it? Nigel Farage told them so. He has convinced voters and even his own candidates that government is easy, that more credible politicians are just making excuses for not fixing things. I said this a long time ago. He is making people think that extremely complex situations are simple, like all populists do, and they will be in for a rude awakening when they find themselves in the hot seat. Nigel Farage and all of his operations have gotten away with this so far because he's spent years upon years, never actually been in that hot seat. Well, now they are. Reform UK councillors all over the country are having that rude awakening now because they are in the hot seat. It's not just Kent either. The same thing is happening everywhere. Not a single Reform UK council has identified waste to cut, and they're all going to be raising council tax, it seems. Literally every Reform UK council is going to break their two main campaign promises because it turns out they were bogus. And yet, Reform UK nationally are still pushing these same lines for national government about waste that they're just going to cut. Don't be fooled. It's bad enough that these frauds have taken over entire councils. At least use it as a lesson not to make a much bigger mistake at the national level. And the third thing to point out is that these Reform UK councillors, who may have been deceived themselves and ran the campaign with very genuine intentions to do what they said, are nonetheless exposing the lies of the grand deceivers. Remember, both Nigel Farage and Zia Yusuf insisted that their teams had gone over the Kent County Council books and they had identified loads of waste to cut. Yet these councillors are now saying, no, there is no waste to cut at all, none at all. So Reform UK politicians in charge are making it crystal clear that their own leadership are not just wrong, but lying. And journalists need to ask those specific questions. They need to ask those questions. They need to go to Nigel Farage and Zia Yusuf and said, you said there was a load of waste to cut. Your own councillors are saying there are. Who's lying, you or them? And these are messages which need share far and wide, whether journalists ask or not, which they haven't been so far. Nigel Farage must no longer hide behind the mantle of, I've never been tested in government, so, any attack on my claims is speculative. He has been tested many times, as I discussed recently. People whose economic ideas he praises and wishes to copy have run countries, and their economies have suffered. But also, his own party took control of multiple councils this year on very specific promises. All of those councils are now confirming that their promises are defunct because they were based on untruths. The individual councillors aren't taking responsibility for those lies because they claim they were just clueless about the reality. But I would still say to them, why were you clueless? Why didn't you do your research properly? But anyway, they're still admitting that these were based on lies. Government is not simple. You are constantly having to balance what voters want with what voters are prepared to pay for it. This is the case at local and national level. Reform UK are like the Three Stooges, only less entertaining. Reform UK is a party which attacks expertise, it attacks wisdom, it attacks intelligence and learning in favour of activity. And we can see where that unserious attitude has led to in local government. Don't let it happen on a wider scale. They can actually cause a lot of damage even at the local level. The damage they could do at the national level would be genuinely catastrophic. We would not recover. Just as we're still going to struggle with Farage's Russian-sponsored Brexit, even today, even in 10 years' time. Even if we rejoin, we will rejoin at some point, even at that point, we will not reverse the damage that has been done in the interim. And the same will happen if we get a Reform UK government. Like there's some damage the Tories have done in government, we are never going to recover from. Some of the damage they did is irreparable. But let me know what you think in the comments below. And for more content, you could subscribe to the channel or even join for access to streams and behind the scenes updates. Thanks for watching. And until next time, I'll see you later.